And we're back again for another session here of the 7th grade design project. In today's session here, 38 minutes of time, it'd be really good, and I know I'm the one doing the coloring, however, it would be really good to get this project close to the finish line so we can wrap up the whole unit and grade work, and also grade our work habits and the project, and take a quiz. And so all of that's important that we get that done here in the next couple of sessions so that we can move on to the next unit. So it looks like when we left off we're on the letter R down here. I finished up the orange. I can check my letter R up here, and it shows that it's got the magenta in each corner and then the violet in the opposing corners. So I'm going to get my colored pencils out and get them ready to go. I've already got my 10 colored pencils for this particular project set off to the side. If you do recall, these are the 10 colors that were selected out for the project here. So I always keep those off on the side by themselves. I'm spelling out that message, and we're using this alphabet which we created, which is based on some Navy flags that we use also in the 6th grade project, which would be this. So this is all interrelated to each other. Each year we just build on the previous year's experiences and attempt to, move the ball artistically there in the right direction. So with this graphics communication project we're doing right now, or design project, that's the goal. I'm going to get my slip sheet out so that I don't smudge up my artwork that I've been so hard working at all this time. So at this point it would be a shame, it would be a blasphemy to mess it up at this point, because this has got hours of work in it by now, and it usually takes 10, sometimes 11 days, sometimes 12 days, depending on the complexity of the letters that are in the project, this particular project, to get the projects done. However, in the near future, since we're at the end of this particular project, and the unit is almost timed out, it's about time to start thinking about taking a quiz, grading the projects, work habits associated with it, of course, and the notes as well. So there will be information coming in the next e-lessons and on the Google Classroom as well for you to reference as we move along in the progress of this project and this unit. We're about to close it up in just a few days. Now, if you've been tuning in regularly and following along with the project, you should be pretty much right where I'm at, maybe a little farther. Once you understand what's going on, some people are able to work ahead if they're able to sustain their focus for more than about 40-some minutes. So, but 40 minutes a day of doing this is usually enough for most 7th and 8th graders, and 6th graders too, for that matter. I'm getting some flashing going on I don't really like, so I have to make sure that doesn't happen so frequently since you're watching this, and I really don't want it flashing while you're trying to watch what I'm doing. Right. So now in the characters that are above the letter that I'm working on now, the greater than symbol and the pound symbol, we're going to use colors that are not on our color chart. This has traditionally been a reason for that. We just don't want whoever your viewer is to confuse those characters with letters of your alphabet. And since they are not on the alphabet to begin with, that could cause some confusion. So we use colors that are off of the 6th grade and the 8th grade color list. And in this case, that's everything but the 10 colors that you've been assigned for your particular project this time around. So I'm going to be thinking about that even as I'm coloring right now. It's really important to plan work. I do a lot of the planning for you in the 6th and 7th grade. However, each year you get a little bit more creative freedom, and you use that creative freedom to express what you're feeling. In this case, your creative freedom was that you had a restriction on your colors, but how you put those colors together, so long as they were light and dark, and bright and dark as well, those colors went together well, or in where you could see all the pieces, parts of them, well, then I didn't restrict that. And as long as the characters in your alphabet, which are the same shapes, don't have the same colors in them. That was the real restriction there. Now I'm going to the violet. I've used a lot of violet in the last few days. On one of the other projects I have a lot of violet, and I've broken it off a few times, which infuriates me. But I'm going to try to be a little more conservative with it today, since it has to be used on a different project as well. So now I'm noticing there's a little dent or a scratch in my paper from a previous marking of some sort. If you just really get that little sharp corner I'm talking about all the time, when you roll your pencil around in your fingertips, what you will notice is that you can just really fill that in pretty easily. Sometimes you just have to just color right into the groove. If you color back and forth over top of it, it will not go away. So you just have to find that little groove and put the sharp point of the pencil in there. Now this project, although it may seem like it's gone on forever to some people, is really only a few days old, not even 2 weeks, I don't think. And so this is a long-term attention span project. All of the art projects require a great deal of focus and attention to get them done on time with any level of quality. So if you're a kind of person that's got a long attention span, then these projects don't seem that difficult for you, I'm sure. If you're a person who does not have the ability to focus for long spans of time, then art can be really difficult for individuals like that. And so one of the goals of our art program is not just to make artwork and understand more about artwork, but also to build long focus, sustained focus, which is what you really need to succeed in a lot of complicated problems, is the ability to continue to think about them even though you may already be somewhat mentally tired. So I guess it's what you would all call not getting bored easy. So that's it seems like it's not something you would have to learn, but it really is. And it's traditionally learned through art. A lot of times it's learned in other classes too, where you have to sustain long focus. Reading is one of those classes. Mathematics is quite important too. This is just a different method for teaching you that sustained focus. So I'm talking about it, but I'm also doing it at the same time. Teaching is a career which requires sustained focus. Okay, I gotta resharpen this pencil. I've almost lost my pencil sharpener in all these shavings here. My hands are kind of sweaty. Too much coffee here early. Alright, I'm going to finish this up. And I think that is it for some of the complicated letters. We do have a letter E here at the end. Easy coloring. Easy E. So I hope your project's coming along as well as mine is. I'm pretty satisfied with the look of my project at this point. It's got a lot of variation in the colors, although the letter N has set me back a long way. So I guess if I had a thing I'd do differently on my worksheet, I think I wouldn't use so many different colors. It makes it visually more interesting, but boy does it slow down the progress and makes it tedious, meaning it's just this little tight focused work over long periods of time. It just wears you down and slows you down, and it's slow progress, but it looks fantastic though. So you know, you gotta make sacrifices sometimes, and sometimes that sacrifice is time, other times that sacrifice is your mental fatigue from continuously working on a project until you get it the way that you like it, and not just however it turns out. See, that's a cop-out. Although that's how it ends up a lot of times, without doubt. When you make artwork, you're signing up sometimes for a lesson in humility, how to deal with things like, you know, having struggles and maybe not having things come out precisely the way that you had planned them, because we harsh a lot on planning, and as teachers, and our society really rewards planning, and sometimes plans don't work out. So even in art, the stakes are kind of low for planning not to work out, but it's still, if you're serious about your art, it's a humbling experience to try to make something really monumental or really, really high quality, and then it just doesn't ever really work out the way you thought it was going to. But sometimes it gets its own qualities to it. So there's a lot of theories from art historians and art critics that kind of makes people want to believe that the piece of art knows what it wants to be before you start messing with it, especially in things like pottery. So if you try to make a piece of pottery, a bowl, and it wants to be a saucer, well, good luck. It's probably never going to work out. And I think there's some truth to that. Clay has got a spirit of its own, perhaps. Okay, that looks pretty good. It looks kind of strange. It does not look straight right there, but it might be just because it's curling up on me. So I'm going to just hit that with a purple outline because it's messing with me right now. Alright, I think that will suffice. Alright, now I'm going to have to go up here to this one, and I've been thinking about that. And I'm going to, let's see, erase off my character right here. I want to keep this simple today because we are up against time limitations. So there comes times when I was going to really dress up that particular character, and this one also over here, which I will erase this out at the same time. But in the interest of getting the project done, you know, that's where we got to go. So you got to meet your due dates. I got to meet my due dates. We got to meet the due dates. So what we're going to do is pick out a couple of colors, or I am, one for the background and one for the character, and I'm going to use those to color all this in here. And I think I'm going to go with something interesting and unusual. I think I'm going to go with the true green for the character, because I think it should be dark, since it is a mathematical character. Now you could use black, and I would resist that if you were in the physical classroom, because the 6th graders need the black for their projects. However, if you would like to use black on your own project and you got your own colored pencils, well, that's perfectly fine with me. In this case, though, I'm going to use green, because I think green's this true green, this dark green, is not one of the 7th grade colors, and it is totally underused in the 7th grade. So people choose against it for some reason. I don't know, but I like it, and I'm going to use it. Now it feels like my lead's a little wobbly in there, so I have to be a little more gentle with it as I apply the color, and it will eventually stabilize as it shortens up. But I really cannot stand having to stop and sharpen the pencil constantly, and so one of the things I'm trying to, I guess, address with the 7th grade, the 6th grade, and the 8th grade as well, is to just treat the pencils carefully, and you will not waste all of your time sharpening pencils. You will spend your time wisely making your art project during art class. You will occasionally get a pencil that has just been mistreated, and it sometimes will have to be dealt with, but most of the time the colored pencils have just been used for, you know, until to make art projects with, and then they finally get used up, and we discard the little stumps, I guess, if we have to. But in this case, I think my pencil lead was kind of broken up inside of the wooden part of the pencil a little bit, so it's all wobbly. So when you can kind of actually literally feel that when you're coloring with it, that kind of manual feedback. That's what you're getting as you feel the pencil slide across the paper, and as you color down, that's called drag. So the drag you feel is affected by how firm the lead is. So when it's wobbly, you can definitely tell it. Alright, I'm trying to dress up some of my opacity issues there. That looks fantastic. And continue on over here, trying to keep my hands off my work as much as possible. Now you can probably turn your artwork around if you need to. However, since I'm videoing what I'm doing here right now, I've really got to leave it in the orientation that it's in. And so I simply just wheel around in a chair I'm sitting on. And I can address it from different approaches and different angles. Okay, this is coming along nicely. Now the opposite of green, if I wanted to make it really pop out, the opposite of green is some sort of red. Maybe red-orange, but we've got a lot of orange already represented in our project, and so I'm a little hesitant to put more of that in there, but there is zero yellow in this project, and I think that might be what I go with. It can't be another dark color, so it has to be a color which will show brightly against the green. Now green is made from yellow and blue mixed together, so it would make color theory sense to use yellow, and they should show up really nicely against each other. Now, let's see, I'll probably go with a golden yellow though, rather than a straight up true yellow. Okay, my project is looking pretty good there. I like that. It's the waxy material that the colored pencil is made out of is really shiny when you get it on densely. And I like the color dense, and that's what the requirement is for the projects too. The highest grades go to the projects that are colored the most opaquely and with the most control and technique. Okay, there we go. Now I may have just, if I'm going to use yellow, I probably should have colored the background first, but I didn't, so I guess I'm going to have to live with what happens here. You have to be very careful when you're using a light color like yellow against a darker color, and in this case that would be green. Okay, I'm going to declare that is done for now. Okay, so let's see, I guess I could go with something like let's go with that golden yellow. It seems to be sitting there just waiting to be used. So, and there's quite a bit of it left since we don't use it in the 6th grade or the 7th grade project. Alright, back to work here. Okay. Now when you're using this golden yellow, or if you made the same kind of miscalculation that I did and you colored a dark color in before you start using a lighter color, then you just got to be so very careful when you get up close to that next color that you don't snag any of it and smear it into and pollute the lighter color. This is something I go into a lot with the 6th graders. They use black a great deal and yellow as well, and so they have a tendency to color the black portion of their artwork first, and then when they color with the yellow, it snags that darker color and it smears it back into the yellow, where it's very difficult to correct that. If they would start with the yellow and then some of the black would snag the yellow and smear the yellow into the black, probably no one would notice. So it's one of these situations where you don't really think that you would have to think about coloring, but you do. And I guess that's one of the lessons about visual art that most people overlook, is the idea that you really need to there's just some good practices that if you follow those practices, that you will end up with better work. And if you neglect those practices, you might end up with good work, but you're probably going to make some difficulties for yourself along the way. Alright, so I'm constantly rolling the colored pencil around in my fingers as I color with it, a few patches at a time, and that helps the colored pencil last a little bit longer, and it always keeps this little sharp corner on it that helps you out when you need to, you know, really carefully put close details together with each other, like this yellow along these other colors right there in the corner. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's see on the projection screen, it also looks very good. So this is more of the color of an egg yolk. That's what I like about a custard. Okay, keep it moving. So this particular project, the 7th grade project, is a little bit more difficult than the 6th grade project for sure, because it has more colors that you can choose from, and then as a result of that, since you don't get to use white, you can't leave any white paper showing, so 100% of the project has to be colored in, and that sometimes is difficult as well. So that adds a layer of complexity and time restriction on it that the 6th graders don't necessarily have. Alright, so sometimes, see, I've noticed I get back into the groove of coloring a lot faster now than I did when I was at the beginning of this project. Now I'm also, you know, at the same time, although you're not seeing it here, I do this separately from the production of these videos, but I'm doing the 6th grade and the 8th grade project at the same time as well. So that can really keep me busy here, but by doing this way, I'm trying to reproduce almost the precise experience you would have if you were in the physical classroom of art, visual art. Alright, now this is coming together quicker than I had predicted because my coloring skills are, now I'm going to say that, I'm going to end up messing something up, so I better focus, long attention span. I can hear the birds singing outside the window. Sometimes if I were by myself, I'd probably be listening to music. However, this is a classroom at this point in time, so we are working hard, and I'm simply listening to what's happening around me. The camera and the projector's all working, and the clock ticking away back there. I'm going to need some more yellow here, so I got to sharpen it up. And the birds singing outside. It can be peaceful sometimes. Alright, I'm going to work my way over on this side now, trying to keep my hands off my artwork. And this project is quickly being produced now at the current rate here, and seeing how much we've got left to go, which is not much. I'd say potentially one more class session, but we'll see how far we get today. It's been difficult to get more than three squares a day done. I know that. Some of them are really complicated, and it's taken us a while to get through them. But I do believe that we are making as fast a progress as we possibly could. If we were in a physical classroom, you'd be getting immediate feedback from me about your project, whereas in this e-classroom situation, that's really difficult to do, and not necessarily practical either, since we are this is a production-based class, and so it's difficult to do project-based classes without that direct face-to-face interaction that you need with an instructor. But I think that this is about as close as we can actually get to reproducing the classroom experience you would get from the physical classroom. So this is what we'll have to do. Now if you're making this lesson up, if it's a makeup lesson for you, then you also are benefiting from the demonstration directly in front of you of exactly how the drawing would have been done had you been in the classroom to participate in the project, you know, when it was being instructed. So this is just also a very good way for students to catch up on work they may have missed and not really require private kind of instruction that way. So they can view it on their devices, they can alter the speed if they so desire to meet their needs, and then they can catch up with the rest of the class and not necessarily cause the rest of the class to wait for them, because we do have group lessons. Alright, I'm going to leave that alone. That's looking fantastic, and we're making extraordinary progress too. So I'm going to say let's move on to the next character next to it and finish up in the lower right hand corner when it's all over with. And so the same rules apply for this character, the pound sign, that apply for the greater than sign. So in this case I'm going to probably try to use something like a dark color for the pound sign. I'm going to use this Mahogany. Mahogany is a reddish brown color in the Crayola kit, and it doesn't even look like it's been used yet, so I'm going to use it now. So it's a reddish brown. It's really very attractive, I think. Mahogany is an exotic wood that grows in Central and South America, and it's used a lot in the manufacturing of boats. For some reason it doesn't seem to rot in the wet conditions as quickly as other woods do. It's also used for making guitars. The body of the guitars, electric guitar necks and bodies, are particularly frequently made with mahogany wood, and I think it's partly because it's resistant to the effects of humidity, and that's things like that cause your guitar neck to go in and out of tune. But it's an extremely durable and hard wood, and it's got this beautiful reddish brown color to it, and very nice grain. If you're a person who appreciates wood, mahogany is a great wood. It's used in furniture quite frequently, boat decks, small decorative boxes. It's versatile, strong, attractive. And it's underused as a color in the color pencil kit, so that's why I'm using it now. Alright, yeah, this experience has been pretty interesting here with the video production on an everyday basis, and digitizing the lessons and posting them on YouTube. All of that has been an experience for me. And I'm hoping that by actually giving you straight up guidance through the project like we've been doing on this project, you're succeeding at it. It should be really quite simple, or at least it seems simple to say. Things that you say which are simple are sometimes not so easy to do. So in that respect, it's conceptually simple, but it's practically difficult. So getting it done good and on time, that's difficult. Being able to explain what you're doing, well, that's not so complicated because it's not conceptually difficult. But getting it done on time and getting it done good, that's difficult. Alright. This is going to work out here. So here we go, down that little slanty edge. I'm kind of impressed the way this came out. Now yours may look different than mine, especially with your color selection for your alphabet would be different than mine. And this is kind of a complicated character here to color in. It's got a kind of the rectangle there, a rhombus shape in the middle of it that's going to have to be addressed. Got to think about a background that will show good against this, or show well against this mahogany color. And it might have to be some sort of a green. Might be the same green I used over here. That might shove against it because the opposite of red, which mahogany is a type of red, I suppose, would be green. And I want to minimize use of orange. Alright, so it's getting in there pretty opaque. You just got to keep. I like to go back and continuously address those parts so that when I'm done with a section of this artwork, I don't have to go back and mess with it anymore. Okay, I'm going to need to sharpen my mahogany, but that is coming across really nicely. That's a great color. Well, don't get too greedy there. I don't want to break it off. I'm trying to break that habit. Get it? Trying to break the habit of breaking the colored pencil. Okay. Well, the birds have stopped singing. I wonder what that's all about. Alright. Gotta keep moving. Stay focused. Keep moving the colored pencil around in your fingers so you always get that tiny sharp corner that helps you when you have the complex work. The tight corners of your art project so that you can get precision in your coloring. There you go. And who would have thought that so much precision, you'd think that's a math thing. And it is, but it's also a concept in many other aspects of life, including art. Alright, that's coming along pretty good. Well, I'm thinking everybody's getting plenty of sleep and exercise too during the time we're engaged in the e-learning here. I understand a lot of the students are complaining of sleep cycle disruptions. I can understand that too. But I have attempted to maintain my regular schedule and my life and habits, even though I'm not going to the physical classroom. So this is taking some time to get used to. Although if you're simply doing this as a makeup lesson, well, that's okay too. You're probably hoping that you'll get back to the physical classroom. And then this project will be done and ready for grading soon. So for this complicated character right here, it doesn't seem to be taking so much time to do it. I'll bet it's going to be a nightmare when I get to doing the background over here. Okay. And I may have once again violated my own habit, just like I was saying over here. I put the dark color down first. Everybody wants to do the character first instead of the other color in the background. So I'll have to be very careful when I color around this dark color in order not to smudge the background color, whatever that may be. And it might be some other color that I'll just have to look at my colored pencil bin there and see what I've got in there that I haven't. It's got a lot of it left from the other class projects for the 6th grade and the 8th graders. Alright, here we go. Let's tighten that up. Address any opacity issues that might be present. I see a few little specks of white paper coming through there, so I'm going to keep touching those up. Alright, I'm going to say that character is pretty well done. Okay, mahogany. Oh, that looks fantastic. So in the background of the mahogany, what am I going to use for this? Peach hasn't been used at all yet. So peach is a very underused color, and it's light colored, and that's nice too. I'm not even going to sharpen it. I'm just going to start coloring with it. I better dust this first. It looks like it's got scraps on it. Alright, that's much better. I guess I'll start up here. Peach, who would have thunk? I'm glad I saw it there. It's the longest one in the kit, so that's probably why I saw it first. So I have a a cup that's sitting off camera here. And it's got my colored pencils in it. If we're in the physical classroom, when we do the design project, I get out all new sets of colored pencils and we put them in like a planter's peanut bucket. And so there's one bucket of colored pencils for every 2 students, pretty much one at every table. Now, there is the bell, which says we might be done here for a while, so I'm going to get as much of this done as I can, and I may just work a little bit of overtime here with you all in order to get this square done, this character. And then all we got to do in the next session is finish one letter, and then all we got to do after that is outline this in a dark color. We'll sign it in the lower right hand corner. We'll date it. I'll talk to you about grading of it, and it will be due here in the next couple of class sessions, it looks like. So I'm glad I did pick this peach color. It really does look good against the mahogany. And I would have never guessed that, because I didn't plan that out. It just kind of had its hand up there going, hey, use me. And so I did. And I gotta say, I'm pretty satisfied with that choice. Alright, so I'm just going to try to work my way carefully around the character there so I don't smudge this light color. This peach is easily polluted. I've seen other people use it before, but I've never chosen it myself for any of this. Alright. So, if you're keeping up with what I'm doing, you should only have pretty much one square left at the end of this session right here. And if you're keeping up with that, then you're doing a pretty good job. I know I can make the material. My production rate can be pretty fast sometimes. And I get into the groove, and I really keep pushing it. Alright, I'm going to have to resharpen this particular pencil because it is being worn down quickly. I might be able to get a couple more patches colored in with it before it starts getting all skinny and scratching my paper. Alright, it's starting to look good though. That peach does look good against that. On the camera it looks almost like gold, but here in front of it it's very peachy. So let's see how, yeah, that looks, it's kind of hard to see. There you go, it's more like it when we hold it down. Alright, I'm going to finish this up, and that's going to be it for this session. The project, design project is coming to a close.